You mentioned the Melius chart today, looking at OpenAI's new product, where Ben writes, it says that as inference moves to video and reason, it's going to prompt infrastructure upgrades pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and I was going back and forth with Ben. He's pure joy. It reminds me that it's very, very bullish for Nvidia, and also he says for Lisa, for AMD. And I totally agree with Ben. Ben's got a beat on a lot of things, and the companies really respect Ben's work, just so you know. And I'm not just partial to Ben because I like his father, who's a great chemical analyst. I'm partial because he's must read. And he's distinguished himself in the group by having the most cogent recommendations, and he's quick. It reminds me of Katie Huberty when she was doing her Apple work, and that's like about as high praise as I can get, because like Katie Huberty was a deity, and now she does the charts. She's a deity, and Ben, I think, wants deity status. Got to work. Got to work hard to be deity.
This video discusses Nvidia's impressive market potential, with analysts suggesting it could reach all-time highs due to its strong positioning in the AI and semiconductor industries. Bank of America recently raised Nvidia's target price to $190, seeing it as a generational opportunity with unmatched competitive advantages, driven by high demand in AI and enterprise partnership. Despite recent stock volatility in the semiconductor sector, Nvidia stands out due to its robust free cash flow and significant investments in cutting-edge AI technology. Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang envisions the company as a transformative player beyond graphics, expanding into AI-driven services like robotics and automation. Analyst Ben Ritson mentions how innovations like OpenAI's products and Nvidia's role in AI infrastructure could necessitate massive upgrades across the tech sector, solidifying Nvidia's relevance in data centers and enterprise solutions. Nvidia's partnerships and end-to-end integration in AI, software, and hardware ecosystems give it a unique market edge, unmatched by competitors. The video also touches on the cyclical nature of the semiconductor industry, though some argue Nvidia may be less impacted due to its strategic investments in AI. With recent strong earnings reports from companies like TSMC and a forecast of continued infrastructure spending, Nvidia's growth trajectory appears favorable. Analysts emphasize Nvidia's wide-ranging influence in the tech industry, from its long-standing CUDA software to recent partnerships with companies like Accenture, positioning it as a key player in the ongoing AI revolution.
Nvidia will look for some potential all-time highs. B of A does go to 190
there
today.
keeps being these sellers at 140, and they just won't relent. And they ought to go rethink their whole game plan. They should go read the conference call of Taiwan Semi, and they would know that it's foolish to sell. Druckenmiller with a cry in the beer about wishes that he hadn't sold it. I don't get the sell call here.
Yeah.
Because this is, remember, one of the things that was mentioned by Dr. Wei on the Taiwan Semi was he's saying it's incredibly early. And yet people are selling Nvidia. It's incredibly early. And I remember talking to Jensen. I mean, we were like, 3 trillion, 4 trillion. He's not thinking about that. What he's thinking about is creating robots that are going to deliver you inexpensive coffee from maybe even Starbucks with Brian Nichol there.
Tyler, let me actually tell you a story first. The first commercial internet service started in the US in 1989. Amazon started in 94, Google in 98, and Meta in 2004. The point here is that, you don't just have 1 or 2 year technology cycles when you are investing in these real big changes to the technological infrastructure. And we think generative AI is one of those really big technological changes that is going to take time to play out. It is true that it is insanely computationally intensive. You need a very strong linkage between the silicon, the system, the software, the developers. They all need to come together. But this is not something that will just start and end in 1 or 2 years. And specific to NVIDIA, in the last 2 weeks, we had the chance to meet with, we had the chance to interact with and listen to a number of companies in the supply chain to their competitors. And what is coming out very loud and clear is that the opportunity is much larger. Their competitive position is much stronger. And then finally, when I look at the stock, right, we have a stock that is trading less than 1 times earnings growth. And if you were to take an average of the other so-called Max 7, they are trading at 1.9 times their average earnings growth for next year. That is why we think that we are in front of a large opportunity. The company is executing well, and the valuation is very compelling, even at these levels.
Vivek, let me ask you, today's interesting because Nvidia is doing well, but the rest of the semis are actually struggling, and the stocks is lower. What explains that?
Yes, Kelly, I think, this week we had the start of earnings. We had one very tough report from ASML. Then we had a very strong report from TSMC. Next week, we will have a number of other earnings reports from semiconductor companies. And the challenge the industry is facing is that this, one shiny area of AI is doing extremely well, but it is less than 20% of the overall industry, whereas the rest of the industry, which has to do with industrial and automotive and PC and smartphone demand, that is just not doing as well. So I think it's possible that investors are taking a wait and see attitude before we get into the heart of this earnings season. So I think it's that kind of very normal earnings volatility that we usually see.
Yeah.
How wide and deep is the Nvidia moat?
Sure. So what I think AI is telling us is that it is not just good enough to be a chip maker, right? That you need to make sure that you can scale these chips across a system, that you have software that can be optimized to deliver the best computational performance, that you're taking care of all the energy, right, and the power requirements, that you're working at scale with the supply chain in Asia. And then importantly, that you're working with an enterprise ecosystem. A few days ago, we saw NVIDIA signing the relationship with Accenture, who will train thousands of people to go and deploy NVIDIA-based systems. So I think it takes that end-to-end knowledge, and only one company today is able to deliver that. And this is not something you overcome in a day or a year or 2 or 3 years, because NVIDIA has been investing in this kind of silicon and software right from the days when they were just a gaming company. Their core operating system called CUDA came out over a dozen years ago. So that's the kind of advantage and lead that they have built, both in terms of their early investments in software, and today their scale and incumbency and partnerships with a number of these enterprise software companies and consulting companies.
I just wonder, sort of a last question, Vivek, if the company is inherently cyclical, and if there's been any kind of pull forward in demand just to make sure that people have what they need, are we going to look to the other side of that? And I don't know if that's in 3 or 6 months' time or maybe beyond that window, but a lot of people who are bullish say they literally don't think it's going to be a cyclical business like many of semiconductors have been through time.
No, I think every time, we forget that semiconductors are a cyclical industry, they have a way of rudely reminding us that it is a cyclical industry. Usually these cycles tend to last for 4 years, where the time to make money is the first 3 years. So last year we had a very strong year. This year is a very strong year. We think next year can be a very good year. And then the cycle potentially rolls over in 2026, right? But I think it's only to refresh and then get on to the next technology trend. So we do think there is at least about a year's worth of investment left in this upfront infrastructure deployment that semiconductors are such a critical part of.
All right, Vivek, thanks for joining us, making the bullish and generational case for, or at least the case until 2026 for NVIDIA.
Speaking of expectations, which are not really low, and that's NVIDIA, the price target today gets raised to 190. At B of A, it was 165. Generational opportunity is how they call it, because of the competitive lead that they have now. They talk about recent industry events. They talk about the underappreciated enterprise partnerships and software offerings, and the ability to generate $200 billion in free cash flow over the next couple of years. You want to address this? It's been a reasonably volatile week. ASML hurt. Taiwan Semi helped. Pick your story on whatever side of the ledger you want to be on as it relates to that. But they are now neck and neck, Apple and Nvidia are, in terms of what their overall market caps are. Apple's still the biggest, but Nvidia is right on its heels. As of the close yesterday, we're looking at 3.36 for Nvidia, 3.53 for Apple. Those are skewed a little bit to the upside on both accounts today. There's 3.60 trillion for Apple, 3.38 trillion for Nvidia, but it's getting there, and people think it's going to because of the generational opportunity that some suggest they still have.
Yeah, and I thought it was super interesting, like the ASML report which was concerning. And you saw a lot of the semis pulling back as a result. And then you see Taiwan Semi, their print, which was a blowout print, and then all the numbers start to push right back. I think about one of the things that Steph said earlier, when you think about just all the beltways that lead back to NVIDIA. If I think about the power grid as an example in data centers, all the build and all the raids we're talking about with data centers and how much we need to build, where we need to find land for these places, all that goes into chips, right? The chips are what fuel the data centers, and beltways all the way back to NVIDIA. So when I think about free cash flow going forward and all the opportunities and all the catalysts, it's hard to fight this stock. It's hard to fight and say, wait, you know what? It's gone up too much. 180% is too much, or whatever. It's still a great opportunity.
People have tried to fight Apple. They've lost, right? They've been put on the canvas.
All right, we start with Nvidia. Why not? Which is trading higher on a bullish call. B of A Securities raising its price target on the tech giant to $190 from $165, reiterating its buy rating. The firm calling Nvidia a, quote, generational opportunity with a huge competitive advantage in a growing market. The stock already up nearly 180% just this year. And that's after last year, where it's something like tripled. Now, here's the analyst behind that call, Vivek Arya. Vivek, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I guess the question in reply to the idea, I have no question that NVIDIA is going to be a great company for a long time to come. But it has already had that generational moment, it would seem to me. So how do you see it moving multiples higher from here, generationally, I suppose?
In conclusion, the video highlights NVIDIA's unique position as a leader in the AI and semiconductor industries, with analysts viewing it as a generational opportunity, thanks to its unparalleled competitive advantages. With strong earnings, industry-shaping partnerships, and innovations that extend beyond graphics into AI-driven robotics and enterprise solutions, NVIDIA is set to remain a dominant player, even as the broader semiconductor sector faces volatility. Bank of America's target price increase reflects confidence in NVIDIA's capacity to drive ongoing technological transformation. Analysts also consider NVIDIA's strategic ecosystem of software, hardware, and enterprise partnerships as key to maintaining its market edge. As demand for AI infrastructure grows, NVIDIA's continued focus on long-term investments and integration makes it a key enabler of next-gen technologies. Do you think NVIDIA's investments in AI and robotics will continue to shield it from the cyclical downturns common in the semiconductor industry? How do you see NVIDIA's role evolving as AI and machine learning become more integral to daily technology use?